Okay, so today we have Ivan. Ivan is the head coach for the Rise Up team. Okay, I brought him on because of his success in service accommodation, and he's very much on the same page as me as well. What we're going to do is talk all about his story, how he built his business, and how he become part of my team, and how he mentors you guys. So if you're looking at joining the Rise Up mentorship for service accommodation, it would be this chap who holds you accountable every single step of the way. So stay tuned. Joined as a mentee, didn't you?
That's right, yeah. So started off in the mentorship last year in May, and then picked up my first property quite quickly since joining. And then I think by January, we were sort of starting to talk about mentoring options, because I think there was I was achieving success quite quickly, and I think you wanted to provide that value to the other mentees as well.
Yeah, I was looking at expanding my. Well, it was just me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I got to the point where it wasn't sustainable, and I needed to go to the next level. So I can't even actually remember how I put it to everybody.
Can't remember. I think you just said you wanted to introduce a HMO coach and an SA coach. You wanted to expand the business, and that's basically where we came into it. And so you spoke to a few of us. It was me and it was Dan, and you wanted to bring in a mindset coach. You had the massive ideas around where you wanted to take the company. But at the time, it was just you running everything. And so obviously there's one man can only do so much, and you wanted to pull a team around you. And I remember coming down here, probably like, what was it, around January time?
Yeah.
To come and do the podcast with you initially. Or was it before that? No, I've been here twice.
Yeah. So I'll attach a video here or here of Ivan's very first time down here. So make sure you go and watch that.
Yeah, and that was basically where you were first entertaining the idea of like growing Rise Up into a much bigger company that had much better facilities and much better coaches and more coaches that could get through more mentees and do more for them.
So when I first put the idea to you, because I had a few people in my mind, but I'll be honest, like SA. It come down to two people, and you were very the strongest contender, really. Without a shadow of a doubt, mate. No. So when I first put it to you, what was running through your mind?
I actually it was something that I really wanted to do, because when I first came across Rent to Rent, which like most people it's on the YouTube videos, and you get sucked in. You realize how easy this business model is. But you also, I think I speak for everybody when I say that everyone wants to get into property. But before you come across Rent to Rent, your understanding of how to get in property is basically you need to get a mortgage, you need to get a massive loan off the bank, or you need to be saving up lots of money for a deposit to get into a position where you can get your own property, or to get into property to do the buy-to-let thing. And then obviously Rent to Rent comes along, and you realize you don't need that much money. You can do it with £3,000 to £5,000, and you can get yourself set up. Sometimes you can get good deals where you don't even need that money to get yourself set up. And so it's like when I first came across it and I was watching it all, I was obviously taking it all in and thinking, I could do this, but I was also thinking to myself, I would love to do this for other people. I would love to get to a stage where I had so much knowledge around this that I could then pick other people up who are in a similar position to me, where they're watching the videos and they're dying to change their life and just get started on it. And that's basically what led me in. And I said to myself, I'm gonna start learning and become as good as I can become. And then thankfully you came along and presented an opportunity and said, hey Ive, why don't you work with Rise Up, and we can start doing things with the mentees as well. And I couldn't say no to that. I couldn't say no, because it was something that I always wanted to do. And thankfully, you gave me that opportunity, and I've been ever so grateful to that ever since.
Yeah, I love it. We're very much on the same page. Me, you, and Dan, and Chris. We've all got just the mentee in mind, and the longevity of obviously Rise Up to get to the top. Personally, I actually think it is at the top. It's just like popularity-wise.
Yeah, it's just about letting people know it's there.
Yeah. We're here. So Ive, tell us, what do you enjoy most about mentoring others?
The most enjoyable thing for me with mentoring other people is simply seeing them go from 0 to 100. I think that's the best thing. And I think it's also proving people wrong about themselves. Like, people impose their own self-limiting beliefs on
100%.
themselves. Do you know
I
what
did
I mean?
when I started.
Yeah,
but it was almost like I need to write those off because other people are succeeding, and just trust the process. But I certainly had those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and obviously you'll know as well, it's like everyone that comes through has concerns, reservations, things that they're not sure about, things that they're uncomfortable about. And what's really nice, I think, definitely when you work with people and you see them develop and you see them grow, is you see them start off as a baby and they don't really know what they're doing and they don't really know how to get the results that they want. But then you get like 4, 5, 6 months down the line, because we train people so well, it doesn't take long, does it? I mean, when people join Rise Up, they smash it straight away. It doesn't take long at all. And it's like, you know, and what's great is you see people go on that journey when they arrive, they don't know anything. And then they're like a couple of weeks in and already they're just extracting so much knowledge, value, data, and putting together the sort of roadmap as to, okay, that's how I'm going to get to there. And then when they achieve their first property, then it's like the belief gets reinforced.
Oh, 100%.
And then they know they can do it.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just like...
Yeah, for example, last week, you know, I physically met Tiffany in person, and 2 days prior to her securing her first deal, the excitement, you know, it's almost like, oh my God, I can do this, you know, and I have done this. And there's a massive shift. And they literally put the pedal to the metal. And it's like, right, I can do this now, let's go. And you see that, you know, from our point of view as a mentor, that they're really engaging, back and forth questions, because it's not fake in their mind anymore. It's like, this actually has and will happen. Yeah,
and it will work. And I think the time you know that you've done a really good job is actually when mentees stop messaging you for help, and they will keep, like, obviously they'll check in, they'll let you know what they're up to, which is great, we love the updates, but it's like the minute you know you've done a great job with them is when actually they're picking up properties all of the time and they're no longer needing to check in with you for due diligence.
It's awesome, isn't it?
It's so good, because you're just like, oh, you are completely self-sufficient now. This is exactly where I wanted you to get to. And it's like watching your kids grow up and go out into the world, isn't it? And then it's the best feeling. It's the best feeling.
Yeah. You know, people say, you know, you see it all the time in comments on social media as well, is if it's that good of a niche, why are you teaching it for money? It's like, it's not about that at all, is it?
No, it's not.
It's just so fulfilling. It's like my property business served its purpose. Become financially free, upgraded our cars, funded our lifestyle. We're very happy and content with our lifestyle. And then I actually got bored. Got bored because I'd done HMO, done service accommodation, you know, got bored. So it was like, I need something fulfilling in my life. And that's when I started coaching in a roundabout backwards way. But essentially, started coaching and then really ramped it up.
There's something this job gives you which you can't find easily in life, which is true satisfaction, true job satisfaction as well. Like the interaction of, like, you become a surgeon almost for people's problems when you're a rent-to-rent operator, because as you're going around and you're speaking to landlords or you're speaking to agents, and you've got properties and you've got landlords some landlords are desperate, some landlords are in a bad situation and they can't afford, whether it's like they've got negative equity in their property, or they can't afford their mortgages, or like they can't get the right kind of tenants for their property. You know, these are the kind of things that people come up against, or landlords, the problems that landlords have. And when we go out as rent-to-rent operators, we actually change people's lives for them. We make things much, much easier. We give people long-term agreements, which gives them security. And so, like, when you can come along and speak to people, and you can almost surgically perform an operation on their problems by what you can provide to them. That's a feeling which it transcends money. It transcends money. And when you can also sit with other people who are in bad situations, or they're in desperate situations where they're in jobs where they're going nowhere, or they're earning just enough to scrape through the month. You know, and it's like you see
not enough money at the end of the month.
Not enough money at the end of the month.
Or is it not enough month at the end of the money?
Or that, that's great. I love that. It's so true though, and like. But in rent-to-rent, it's like the money just keeps coming. It keeps coming, especially if you're doing service accommodation. It's just the cash flow straight away it's coming through a lot. And obviously, HMO's just as good in a different way. And so it's like, whatever your risk appetite is, there's something for you. If you're someone who you're a bit, you don't like to take a lot of risk, HMO is going to be right up your street. It's fine. It's going to be good for you. If you're someone who doesn't mind a little bit of risk and you like it fast and furious.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even say it's a risk. I'd say it's calculated risk, because obviously what we teach is massive due diligence, and it's like a no-brainer to take that property on.
True. Yeah.
So what is the biggest hurdle that you have faced in your property business journey?
Biggest hurdle that I faced? I haven't faced one. Obviously there's challenges. I would say there's challenges that come up, but I think if you've got the right network around you, you know, you don't. Challenges are just that. They're just little challenges, but they're not like huge things.
It's not a straight road, is it?
No.
Rent to rent. It's quite bumpy.
Can be, yeah.
Windy.
Yeah.
It's not a straight road.
I'm thinking about it now, and I'm not trying to be evasive or not give something here, because I'd love to give an answer here, but I genuinely feel like there's not been a big challenge for me. It's been just a case of going out there, speaking to landlords, being like, okay, you need this, I do this. Does that help you? Yes, that helps you. Okay, so how long do you want me to be doing that help for you for? Do you want me to do it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And then like they'll tie it up, or the agent will tie it up, and then you just pay the money, you take the property on, you furnish the property, you list it on Airbnb, it's listed, you get guests coming through, you automate that process so you don't deal with all the messages, you just get all the guests handled by something else, and then you get paid, and then you just do it again, and like that's it.
Simple.
There's nothing stressful about it. I mean, you know, taxes are probably the most stressful thing about the whole thing, probably at the end of the year when you've got to do your taxes. That's the bit I'm not looking forward to, but other than that, there's not been anything that's come up where I've been like, oh, I can't handle this. Oh, I'm struggling with this. Or, you know, or if I made the wrong move. It's like, that's never happened. Everything is just so smooth and it's so process driven that it's just a case of understanding the process. And once you understand the process, you win.
So why is one-to-one support so important, and why do we offer it?
Because if you want to go fast, you go alone. And if you want to go far, you go together. And so people that want to go far in business, you need to be mentored. You know, you need to have a support network around you. You need to have people around you that you can rely on and lean on. Nobody's an expert. Nobody knows everything. You will always come across things where you don't know what to do next. And when you have like a WhatsApp group or you have a Facebook group that you can just pop a message into, and within 5 minutes, you know, it's like, you know, you can continuously take leaps and bounds forward with your business, and you're not getting to stages where you're stuck and you're static because you don't know how to break past that brick wall and you've not got anybody to ask. So the one-to-one support is important for that purpose, that people are always guided towards their goal. You're never left without an answer. There's never anything that will come up where nobody knows the answer to it. It's like, if you don't know, someone else does, and that's cool, that's great. And why do we offer it? Is simply because, why does Coca-Cola offer it? It's because there's a demand for it. And there are people out there desperate to change their lifestyle. There are people out there desperate to change their general life, or their generational wealth for their family, or there's so many different incentives for why people join us. They want their freedom back, they want more time with their kids. There are so many things, so many reasons, and that's why we offer it, because there's a demand for it. And where there's a demand, I guess we'll always facilitate the supply, and rise up rent to rent.
Yeah, man. So how does our mentorship differ from others in the same industry?
So I'm not going to answer this as a coach, because obviously if I answer it as a coach,
we're slightly biased, aren't we?
Yeah.
The owner of Rise Up, you're coach for Rise Up.
I'm going to answer this as I was when I was a student, and when I was a mentee, and I was going through the ranks and going through all of the motions that all the mentees go through. And I will say what makes it different is that you make it different for a start, right? And it's the fact that you are almost the brand, right? So it's like, yeah, you get Samuel Leeds, you get Simon Smith, you get different names, you get different people in the rent-to-rent space, but you don't actually ever meet them. You don't ever meet Samuel Leeds. I don't know about Simon Smith myself. So yeah, so it's like, you know, when you're watching, you get pulled into the Samuel Leeds kind of like the journey of things, and with Simon Smith you get pulled into like the simplicity of things. But I think what it is with you, Kenny, is you get pulled into the fact that you just know you're not a guy who's going to rip you off and pull the wool over your eyes and run off and just leave you hanging and be like, I took your money now, you've paid for the course, you can't make it work, whatever, sayonara, see you later. It's like, you've always stuck with everybody every step of the way. And that's, for me,
I love that.
Yeah, mate, that's for me is like the one, because I buy into people. I don't buy into products. I don't buy into sales. I don't buy into big gifts and gimmicks and things like this.
This is why I brought you and Dan on, because you've got exactly the same outlook, definitely.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And that's what it was. And I think that's where it was different for me, especially. And I think I probably speak for most people who've joined the program, where they'll say they joined it for Kenny and they weren't let down afterwards. They weren't disappointed. The Kenny, you've always been there. You're in every single WhatsApp group. I actually don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, bro. It's like, you're everywhere. It's like every time I open Facebook, it's Kenny's there, and then Kenny's in that comment section, and Kenny's in the WhatsApp group, and it's like Kenny's there, and Kenny's in my inbox. And like, I'm like, hey,
Kenny's
bro.
left me a 12-minute voice note.
Yeah, literally. I'm just like, how does this guy do it? But that is what is so I guess like enticing and addictive about it is the fact that it's like, you know, you get to meet the guy who's done it already, you know, and this is the person who's now at the top. And actually, and that person is a real person. Like, he's not so far up above you that he doesn't have time to come down and talk with you or mingle with you. It's like you care about what's going on at the bottom. I don't feel like the other guys do. And so, and I felt like that. You know, I joined other stuff and I was getting calls, and every call I would get would be to ask me for more money. You would just call me to ask me how I was. And like that spoke volumes to me, man. And
yeah, but you come on as a coach because the way I think you're so on board with, and it's like so ethical, because I've still got a student and mentee mindset, and so do you. We know exactly what you guys are thinking. We know what you're going to struggle with, the limiting beliefs, and exactly what you need to be doing. And we know every element of that. So who better to teach you other than us, as opposed to other salesmen just trying to upsell you another course?
We're both still being mentored by other people. So it's like, even as mentors, you're still getting mentored.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you never lose that mentee mindset, because you're always, even though you're a mentor here to that, you're still being mentored from that.
Yeah.
And so like, it's, yeah, you've retained that
student mindset.
Yeah, and that like where you
Always
can associate with people better, kind of thing.
You'll like this one. Can you share a success story where your one-to-one support with the mentees made a massive difference?
The most recent one I can think of is probably Maggie, which Maggie came to us. She had things that she had to work around. You know, she was struggling with the communication side of it. I think like just to have that rent to rent conversation with an agent or with a landlord, I think Maggie was really struggling with. And she was getting told no a lot, and it was getting into her a lot. And she was calling me up and saying, "Ivan, I can't do it. I'm getting told no."
This is what she told me. She was less than 10 phone calls, and she was this close to quitting.
Wow, she said that.
Yeah, and then they actually got the viewing. This is what Maggie said. I was this close to quitting, and I said, we wouldn't have let you quit. We wouldn't have let you quit. As mentors, we wouldn't have let you quit. It would have been hard, because you would have got to that level of the rent-to-rent wall, but we would not have let you quit.
Oh no, you're stuck with us forever now. Yeah. But no, you're right. It's like, if you lose the passion for your own goal, we got you. Like, we'll be passionate for you. We're passionate for your own success. So it's like, if you drop and you're like, "Oh man, this is a bit harder than I thought it was. I'm getting told no a bit more than I thought I would." It's like we are just as passionate about you winning as you are. And so it's like, when you drop, don't worry, we got you. Simple as that. And I think what was really great about Maggie, and I didn't know that part of it, which is really nice to hear. But yeah, I picked up on that on a voice note that Maggie left me, and we had a bit of a talk about it, and we just sort of looked at the battle plan, and we restructured it, and we said, right, we're just going to go for being liked. We're not going to go for the whole, don't worry about the company. Don't worry about selling your business, Maggie. You've got great personality. Sell your personality. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
And in 2 phone calls, she was closing the deal.
Yeah.
And so like, that was for me, like, I think the time where I just felt proud. I felt so proud. I felt so proud of her. And I felt so proud of the company, like what we could do for people as well. Amazing. And it's like, yeah, it's just, yeah, that's my most memorable.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen the tour of Maggie, I'm going to leave the link around here. Make sure you go and watch that property tour and hear the in-depth story from Maggie's point of view as well. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when starting out?
Biggest mistake that people make when starting out, I think, is not moving fast enough. I think that's the 100%.
Mistake. People aren't that proactive, are they? So, for example, the 4-bed HMO I viewed, offered, and signed contracts within 22 hours.
That's good.
And by the time other people have seen it, I'll call that agent about that property on Monday. Gone. I've already got it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so powerful, man. It's like, and that's happened to mentees, hasn't it? It's like where they've been sort of like hesitating on putting an offer,
and then it's gone.
And then it's gone.
Or they've called up. It's like, "Oh, we've had 5 company, let's view it." So, and it's almost like a lesson. It's like, okay, yeah, I need to be faster.
100%, man. It's like speed wins the game. And speed wins the race, and it's a very competitive field. It's like, especially if you're in a big city or something like that, it's like, you know, if you're, one thing I was always taught when I started out in business is if you're thinking about it, someone else is already doing it.
Yeah.
Someone else is already doing it. And so by the time it's just a thought in your head, it already needs to be action. And And that's what I see with mentees, I guess. It's like when mentees come through, they're all full of passion, full of energy, full of like, excitement, ready to get started. But then it's like, when it gets to the uncomfortable parts, like picking up the phone and making the calls or going on the viewings or making the offer.
That's when it really tests you.
But another mistake people make is not investing in themselves. You know, it's like, even when you become a rent-to-rent operator, it's like there are so many skills you still need to master. You need to master the art of persuasion. You need to master the art of communication. You need to master business. You need to master how can you calculate things quickly. You know, you also need to master like things like reassurance and compassion. So when somebody has got a problem and you can genuinely like speak to them in a way which makes them feel like this person actually cares. These are things that have to be mastered. And so you always need to be investing in your education, your knowledge, the ability to communicate better. And like it doesn't stop at the point of just signing up to a course and joining a program and then you just continue as you.
It's a massive development thing, isn't it? Starting a business it's almost designed for a type of person that thinks different to the majority. You know, if you're watching this channel, you're already thinking different to the majority. If you've made it this far into this video, you are thinking
you're different.
You're different. You're wired different. You're looking at self-development. You know, if you're on a rent-to-rent YouTube channel, you're wired different, and you are perfect for starting this business. So when you start, you're very excited. You know, all you can see is like the end result and how it would change your mind. And like you say, when it actually comes to the boiling point of starting to pick up that phone, I always think if you want to be successful, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be many tests, and those phone calls is a huge test. Can you get past that test? Can you pass the test? You know, it might take you 200. It took me 244 phone calls until my first set of deals was accepted. That was a massive test because of my future. And look where we are now. The future was very bright, so I had to be tested extremely hard. And I passed that test. Yeah. I deserve what I have today because I persevered.
Pass the test. Just like, like we've had mentees who've joined and 20 phone calls in, they're like, I'm struggling. I'm getting told no. I'm getting told no a lot. And it's like, get used to it.
That's the rent-to-rent wall, isn't it?
That's the wall.
It's almost like, testing your limiting beliefs. And I hit that 3 weeks in when I was brand new. It's like 3 weeks in, I had to check myself and, really demoralized, made probably 70 phone calls, not much going for it. But my script was all wrong. I was being, saying the wrong things, different tactics to what we use now. And it just, really hit me. So what advice would we give someone who's looking at starting a rent-to-rent business?
You got to be decisive, and you got to make the decision quickly. That's what I would say. You've got to be decisive and make a decision quickly because it's a competitive arena, and actually, there's a lot of people that are starting to do rent-to-rent, and so it's like but not everybody can do it. That's the thing. It's like a lot of people are wanting to do it, but not everybody can do it. And so I would say if you're considering it, just know that there are people in your area who are already doing it, and they're already ahead of you. And there could be a property which is just down the road from you, which would be your perfect acquisition. I lost my breath. But someone's out there already doing it. If you're thinking about doing it, someone's already doing it, and all those deals which could be yours are being snapped up by somebody else. And it's like, are you just going to sit there and you're just going to allow that to happen? And you want to do this, and if you want to do it, it's a case of just picking the first step. And if the first step is picking up the phone and speaking to Kenny, or if the first step is going and checking out the YouTube channels as you are now, or if the first step is getting educated and going and asking people who have been in the field, or going and doing a bit more research and finding out actually how does this work, how much money does it make, whatever it's going to be, action is all that matters. So you can sit here all day and go nowhere, but the minute you start doing this and you start walking and taking steps, that's what makes things happen.
100%. And to go on from that, as Ivan just said, if you're on this YouTube channel, you're wired differently. And all you've got to say to yourself is, you already know rent-to-rent works. You should have done enough research. And if you haven't, rent-to-rent works. I've completed it. Ivan's completed it. Dan's completed it. We're teaching it. There's many other training schools and mentors out there teaching it. There's hundreds and hundreds of testimonial videos, many on this channel. It works. So tick that box. The process works. Tick. This isn't too good to be true. It's not a scam. Then the next box is, can I do it? So to put it into context, I was an engineer, electrical engineer for 13 years in one factory, from the age of 19 to 32, I was in the same factory, did not leave that factory. So I had many limiting beliefs, and I was just trusting the process. So that's it. If I can do it, and this is what I had in my mind, if those guys can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. So just make sure you can tick that box. If you believe that other people are doing it, you can certainly do it as well. So what key habits and routines would we suggest to these guys that actually will enable them to become successful?
I would say like the one of the most important things you can do is to always reflect. Is to always reflect. So when you take action, don't just, and it's something I've mentioned to mentees before, where it's not just taking and going through the motions of doing things without reflection. It's like you need to do things, and then you need to look at it and say, okay, assess it. Where was that good? Where was that bad? Where could that get better? Where do I want to take this? Did I get there fast enough? Did it take too long? And you look at all of those things, and you're always constantly evaluating and improving. So I'd say that's a key trait, is the ability to reflect on every decision you make, everything you say, every video you might post, or every whatever it is you might do, a voice note you might leave a mentee. Go back and listen to it again. Reflect on it. Did you sound good? Did you sound helpful? Would it help you if you're in the same situation? And I think reflection is really powerful. It helps us get better and to objectively reflect as well, and not reflect in a way where we can't take our own criticism. It's like you have to be hard on yourself.
You have to criticize yourself.
You have to criticize yourself. You have to be your best cheerleader and your worst critic at the same time. And so that's one thing I would say. Another thing I would say is to not get focused on what other people say too much. You are you for a reason. And you're built the way you're built for a reason. It's because you have a purpose. Other people ain't always going to understand what the purpose is. And so if you feel in your heart that you should do something, or you have to do something, or you feel like that feels natural to you in this arena, pursue it. Don't listen to people who are gonna be naysayers, and it's not gonna be for them because they don't have the risk appetite, or they don't have the know-how or they don't have the vision to see how it's gonna all work. And so a lot of being a good business person is about being a good visionary. And if you can see the vision, that's all you need. If you're starting something, you can't see nothing, stop right there, go back to the drawing board, make sure you plan it a little bit better. But if you can literally start an idea, just with an idea, and you can see the end, that means you have the vision. And whenever you have the vision, you should take the action on it. And you should never stop. You should not stop. You will hit brick walls, you will hit failures, you will hit setbacks. That's 100% guaranteed. Your success is not. But what we don't do is we don't quit, because when we quit, then we fail. That's the ultimate failure. But what we find is a lot of these brick walls and setbacks and things are actually things that just make us better. They come along because we had to get better. And so now we're dealing with this thing, we overcome it, and now next time it comes along, it's a piece of cake. And that's what I would say is the key traits, really. Is also the belief in yourself, of knowing. It's not even like I have to try and convince, or like I have to persuade myself. It's like I know. You know?
I know.
You know. Do you know? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah. Advice from me is all about self-development. The Art of a Good Life. Good book. Great book, actually. Property Sourcing Compliance. A very boring book. Looks important. I've never read it. Mastering the Numbers. Again, very boring. Never read it. Think and Grow Rich, very important book, massive. I've got about 3/4 of the way through it. Very inspiring.
I just
never finished it.
Yeah, great book. Great reviews.
Making It. Never read it. I actually haven't. 10x is easier than 2x. A very good book. Very good book. How to Own the World, probably the most important book I've ever read in terms of like smart investing instead of poor investing. A very powerful book everyone should read. I will promote this guy because he opened my eyes to the property world. Inspiring. Go for No, an amazing, inspiring book. Really changes your mindset on the word no. Never read that one. Everyone in property has read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So if you haven't read it, go and read it. So that would be my insights to you guys, is if you're looking at starting a business, you need to understand, can you open your mind to self-development? And the only way of doing that is either going to the gym or reading books. So Ive, what trends are you seeing in the property market, especially for service accommodation, and how mentees can capitalize on them?
So yeah, just speaking for service accommodation, because I couldn't speak for HMOs. Just speaking for the serviced accommodations, I would say the trends are that obviously service accommodations are doing very, very well at the minute. They earn people a lot of money. there hasn't been any mentees that have taken on a service accommodation and been unprofitable. And so the trends that I would say I'm seeing are that's becoming well known. A lot of people are starting to jump into rent to rent, to get involved in serviced accommodation, and eventually the government get wind of it, and regulations come in and red tape gets put around things, and that's sort of where we are now. And we've got sort of like, a lot of talk about planning permission being needed. You need a certain use class for properties in order to run them as a serviced accommodation. And obviously there's, I think Wales are considering bringing in a register. The UK would probably follow, and so that obviously makes it a smaller window to climb through for people, who aren't necessarily up to date with that stuff, who aren't confident with dealing with that stuff. But again, to put a positive on a negative, it's something which is going to make the market less competitive than it is now. So for the people who are prepared to go through the hoops and jump through those hoops, once they get to the other end of that, the whole arena is going to be to play for. And obviously Rise Up is going to be right up there. And so, generally we're gonna know the ways to work around the use classes, or we're gonna know what to respect with the regulations, and we're gonna have things in place or strategies in place where people will be able to still be prosperous, and they will still be able to prosper from it.
October the 1st, 2023, when the latest fire regs come out for service accommodation, everyone on Facebook, it was almost like they're proud of it. Like, SA is dead, rent service accommodation is coming to an end. Like, it was everywhere, wasn't it? Can you remember?
I do, yeah.
And all you have to do is read well into it. And there's no deadline to the compliance. You just have to be seen becoming compliant to the fire regs. So it wasn't dead.
No.
And it's exactly the same with the planning permission for the service accommodations. Everyone's saying exactly the same thing, but there would be workarounds. So that is the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not even certain. It's not even regulated yet. It's just talks. So what I'm trying to say is, don't start a business just on the idea of this possibly coming in. That's not a reason to not start. It's just get around it when it does happen. So guys, let us know in the comments, what is the best book? If you're in property or just getting started, what is the best book that you would recommend? And we will read it and give you our feedback in another video. So how do we keep our mentees motivated, especially when things are getting tough?
I would just say we're always involved with them. We're always involved with them, and we always go through the ups and the downs with them. And so I remember when I was being mentored by you were checking in regularly, or I could message you if I was struggling and I'd hear back straight away. And so that makes a massive difference. And I think definitely from a mentoring angle, when you're checking in with your mentees regularly, which is what we do, you become a part of their journey. So you become a part of their day. You know what they're doing at 4 p.m. And there's people I can think of now, and I know what they're doing right now because just I've been attached to them for that long. Like,
what's crazy is people might be watching us and thinking we're a large training school and we deal with like tens of mentees coming through, but it's only about 4 or 5 a month. And again, you might be thinking, well, Kenny only showcases the successful mentees on YouTube. I don't. Those successful mentees on YouTube are pretty much all of the mentees that we coach.
Yeah. That's the funny thing, yeah. The success rate's insane.
It is insane.
And we're not just saying it, or I'm not just saying it,
We treat them like tick boxes that are empty, don't we?
Yeah.
Like we need to tick Maggie.
Yeah, and we don't let them go till they've been ticked. And that's how it's been, really. And I think, that's how the support is. And, we keep them motivated by constantly having an answer for something. And so it's like, there'll never be something a mentee could come forward with that we'll just turn around and say, I don't know, I've not come across that. It's like, we always have something to give you. And so it's like, even when you feel like, oh my God, I've tried everything, I've exhausted all of my options. Well, actually, when you check in with the mentorship, if one of the coaches don't help you, you've got all of these other legacy clients who will. And so it's like, there's so many layers, there's so many levels. And I think that's what also keeps mentees motivated, because it's like, you're not just getting reinforced and supported from the top, but you're also getting reinforced and supported from people at the same level as you. And so it's like, wherever you look around, you've got examples of people who were in your position 3 months ago and they've moved up and they've got 3 or 4 properties now, or you've got like people who've gone through the ranks and they've ended up setting up their own company, or they've ended up becoming part of the management team or the coaching team of Rise Up. And like, and so wherever you stand at the start of the mentorship and you need reasons to be motivated, wherever you look, like whatever your goals are, there is somebody who's achieved what you want to achieve. And so in that, there is motivation everywhere.
what I love is you guys might be watching a video of like a property mentee tour, Caroline, Dan, yourself, right? And then you join the mentorship, and then you actually see that person that you watch a YouTube video of, and you're talking to them in the mentee group, and they've actually got like 7 properties. That's, I think, quite a mindset shift of it's not just a YouTube character.
Yeah.
You're actually talking to this person that you were once inspired by.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I felt like that, all like watching you. And I'd watch you and your YouTube content, and then it was like when I actually joined the program, and I was like, oh my God, I'm actually like, I'm part of this now. Like, I'm actually able to message this guy. And, you know, like that makes it so much more real.
Yeah.
And then it's also because of the value you have for those people. It's like the opinions, the support they give, the help they would give you. It's like, you know how valuable it is, because these aren't just anybody who you could just message. These are people who are very, very busy, and you've got their ear, and they will help you. And like that you can't put a price on that, really. That's invaluable, because it gets you to where you want to go. And yeah.
Right, what would we say to our viewers and these guys that are watching now if they're considering joining us and the mentorship program?
I would just say, if you're already considering it, then there's something that you've seen which attracted you, and there's a reason why you're considering it. And if you don't have any reasons for not starting, then I would just say what matters is action. That's all that ever matters. And there's no different from where you are now to when you start Rent to Rent. When you start Rent to Rent, all that matters is your action. You know, going on your viewings, making your offers, doing your properties up, making sure your listings are always at a good standard, making sure your guests are happy. It all comes down to action. And so if you're already considering it, test yourself and take action now. It's like, if you're going to be somebody who's going into an arena where you constantly have to take action, why not start taking action now?
that 2 seconds felt like 10.
I know.
Love it. And also I would say, look at the opportunity cost. If you don't understand what opportunity cost is, for example, Maggie, right? She joined and 3 weeks later secured her very first deal. So imagine if she joined us 4 weeks later, she wouldn't have secured that exact deal. It would have missed it.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, when you think of it like that. And also, it's just a case of good ideas don't stay around forever. You know, things don't stay around forever. You might not have Rent to Rent around in 10 years' time, but it's very, very popular now, and it's very, very successful now. And so it's like, you might end up deciding in 10 years you want to go down this path, and actually there's been so much regulation put around it that you can't easily go down this path. And so it's like, while something is good, and while something is absolutely like in demand and it's prosperous, you got to seize it and strike while the iron's hot. And I would just say, yes, if you're considering it, there's a reason you're considering it. Good things don't last forever, and so you've got to take action now. It's like, what are you waiting for? What are you actually waiting for?
So, you know, what it all boils down to is, why get a mentor for Rent to Rent?
Because a mentor is effectively like a roadmap. You know, you wouldn't go and travel to Manchester without your GPS on. You wouldn't go travel to anywhere without your GPS on that you don't know. And Rent to Rent is very much a destination that you don't know, and it's a journey that you don't know. And your mentor is like a sat nav, and your mentor will show you every single step of the way. They will show you where the speed cameras are and where the things are, the dangers are that you need to watch out for. And they will show you where the best routes and the fastest routes are too. And so, you know, where some people can get caught up spending a lot of time entertaining things which don't actually get results quickly, mentors will say, we'll highlight that and say, look, don't worry too much about setting up the website now. Just get on the phone calls and get your first property. Okay, don't worry about it. Like, that stuff, you're never going to get asked about your website. You know?
And if you do, you just say it's in development.
It's in development, yeah, and it's coming together. It's just, you know, it's not the thing that's going to sell your business. You are going to sell your business. And so it's like the faster you just, you know, take that journey and move forward, and you get the mentor behind you who's done the things that you want to be doing, that is your GPS, and that's why you need a mentor. And I would never do anything without one, actually.
Once you're sold on mentors, you know, fitness coach, even you guys might already have mentors at work. You know, your manager that's trying to push you to climb the career ladder, that's a mentor.
Supervisors are mentors. Like, anybody that trains you in work is a mentor, aren't they? And it's crazy. It's like you're engaging with them in every day in day-to-day life, and you don't even realize it. And But then when you actively think to yourself, oh, I'm going to assign a mentor to myself for this specific purpose, well, suddenly it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I think it is because there's nothing tangible. You're not buying a product with rent to rent, you're buying information. And the English mindset is quite broken with buying information. We think that things are too good to be true. And because it's not tangible, you can't put your hand on it. But most people will go out and spend $7,000 on a car quite easily, but not pay for information because it's their limiting beliefs again. They think it's going to be a waste of money because they won't get the result. But my biggest advice to get a mentor, and I'm speaking from my experiences, there's only so much YouTube videos until you get fed up. There's only so much webinars you go on until you get fed up, until you start to get to a point where you're like, can you piece this together yourself? Do you want to piece it all together yourself, like the structure of rent to rent? Or do you want clear guidance every single step of the way so you don't make a mistake? So that was the reason I got a mentor, is I didn't want to make the mistakes and I wanted clear step-by-step guidance all the way from how to make a phone call to signing contracts. It's like learning how to drive. You're not going to jump in a car and drive down the road without a driving instructor telling you no, and when you're about to make a colossal mistake, they slam on the brakes. It's exactly the same as us. You will not make a mistake because we're there every single step of the way.
Hey guys, my name's Ivan. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.